You are now listening to the Fierce Kingz podcast.
So, just got to do that damn thing. Welcome back. My name is Paul. I'm with the one and only Stu Fierce, and you are now listening to the Fierce Kingz podcast. We're hitting up episode 5. What's going on, baby?
Not a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, did you have a good weekend?
It did its duty, How about you?
Every single day is the same.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day. I literally woke up this morning and I shit, I don't know. People say this all the time. Like, I was like, what day is it? And I had some packages coming in from like Amazon on Thursday. And I was basically like standing out on my porch, like looking out, being like, where the fuck is this guy? And then I realized it's fucking Wednesday. So
tomorrow's already Thursday, and I was trying to plan meetings for work and shit, and like I got completely confused. I was just like, fuck, we're on the second half of the week already, like closing out to another weekend, and there's still nothing to do. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's really trippy now.
Yeah, you popped up and like spring break and like took off, and then they're like, what?
Dude,
do you know what year it is?
Yeah, you're in the wrong time zone. Well, check it out. I actually did something interesting. So have you ever click and collected?
What is that exactly? Is that like curbside pickup type thing, or?
Oh, you know what? So yeah, so some establishments call it curbside pickup, and essentially it is. But I went to IKEA to pick up a little ting, and it is click and collect. So you go on the website, you buy it on the website, and it's just like, all right, go pick it up, and we're open at these times for click and collect. So then you buy it online, and then you just drive over to fucking 45 minutes an hour, wherever the nearest IKEA is. Yeah. And you just wait in your car. You text an app and they just bring it to your car. They check your ID and they're like, here you go. Here's your collect.
Right.
And I got to say, like, I'm thinking this might be the future. I really am, because I hate shopping in store. Okay? Yeah. I like shopping online. And I know there's people that do like shopping in store, but this is like a hybrid. Right. It's like that in between.
What's the like interaction sort of situation? Like you bought the thing, you drive on over, and like a dude comes out to your car and drops it in there, or there's like bins and you put in a code and you grab it and you do it yourself, or what's the sort of situation?
Yeah. You show up to a dedicated parking spot, you text, I don't know, 846, and you text them your like order number, and they're like, great. See you in 10 minutes. And then basically someone just waves at you. They put your item in a huge bin and just leave it. And then I put it in my car. It's like pretty dope because I hate going inside IKEA. Oh, well, it's a nightmare in there.
That's a widowmaker.
It's almost as bad as Costco, but I don't want to get started on Costco, man. That's a different story, man. Fuck.
But any of those big box stores are just the widowmaker. And it's just like, especially when you're going in with your significant other, you both have two completely separate ideas of what you're going there for. Even though maybe the overall goal is the same, we're getting some groceries, or we got to pick up this, or maybe, I heard that they had a flyer that was saying there was a good deal on like a flat screen TV or whatever. And then you get in there, and then they see a few things they like. You maybe see like, a new set of golf clubs or something. Next thing you know, in that giant fucking cart, you're trying to stuff in all this shit, and she's stuffing in all this stuff, and you're having a tete-a-tete of just like, well, you didn't say you were going to buy that. Well, you didn't say you were going to buy that. What are you talking about? And then people are going all the wrong different direction, and they're bumping into you. It's just chaos.
The chaos is wild. So, okay, so we're talking about it. When you go to Costco, you need to look yourself in the mirror on Saturday morning, deep into the windows of your own soul, and just say and prepare. You're like, we're doing this. We're driving to Costco. It's Saturday morning.
Oh, forget it.
The mission to Costco starts the second you open the door from your house and you get into that car, because it's not when you get into Costco. The parking situation, everyone lining up for the gas station because they've lowered the prices by 5 cents per liter. So so the lineup is going outside onto the street that people are trying to drive into Costco.
Yeah.
Why they put a gas station at a Costco parking lot, I have no idea.
Oh, just to do that.
Just
to create pandemonium.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're probably making tons of cash.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, carts. Always someone bumping into me into a cart. Always someone and then you spend $400, $500, and you have what, 10 items in the car?
Yeah.
Right? 10 items in the cart. And then always, every time I go to Costco, I don't know if this happens to you, I'm checking out and they're like, oh, by the way, your membership expired. I was like, what?
You need a membership to be a part of the Costco club, yet it's always expired. So what good is this thing?
I don't know. I really don't know. So they're like, that's $500 plus $65 for the membership. And because you don't have a MasterCard, that's another 5%.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, this club is expensive.
This is a very expensive club. And so then you end up dropping like $1,000 to get a 2-gallon jar of mayo.
Yeah. And the worst part is you get home by like 11 a.m. on a Saturday and it's over. The weekend's over. Ruined. Weekend absolutely ruined if you haven't divorced yet with your wife.
Yeah. And because you're like two different people. Like you get into that car. I don't even think that there's any sort of like interaction or like talk that's going on. You're not discussing anything. You're both in survival mode. Yeah. And then you go do your thing. And I gotta say, and people always say this stuff about like Walmart and things like that, but like the dregs of society truly go to these places on a regular basis. Like you come out of that, you come out, if you don't, as you said, if you don't divorce by the time you've like come out of either Costco or IKEA or Sam's Club or Price Club or whatever it is in the States as well, like you have to go home and do like a full-on apology to each other. She's doing it to you and you're doing it to her, and basically being like, I was just not myself and I fully apologize and I am so sorry for that. And what can I do to make it up? And she's like,
just crack open the 5 liters of fucking beefaroni and make up.
That's it. Like, let's go try and waste some of this food. And you realize like how much of stuff that you think is important you don't really need. You're like, just something like that. You're like, oh, I want to get like some soup or something. And then you're like, oh yeah, I didn't really know that I needed like a barrel of chicken noodle soup. You're like, I'm going to have a bowl or two, but you're not going to need this giant fucking thing that they sell there.
It's going to expire before you actually eat it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Easily.
Yeah. Although, what's nice at Costco? I like picking up a nice Caesar salad, Oh, the crispy summer day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what's also super sweet, if you remember from back in the old days in Quebec, they sold beer there, alcohol there, right? Yeah. And so if you want to know where the lowest class people in the world go, it's the Costco in Gatineau, Quebec. Holy
shout out to Gatineau.
Holy smokes. I went there one time when I was visiting Ottawa to grab some shit, and I was like, damn, this is pretty sad, man.
They were stocking up for the weekend.
You are now listening to the Fierce Kingz podcast.
The worst part, though, about big box stores is if you have to go to the washroom. You know what I mean? So when I was at the Click and Collect in IKEA, like, again, I told you it was a decent experience, but we had to sit in the car, which is great. You know what I mean? You just listen to radio and you just kind of, I guess you got to pick up your order and they drive it to you. So it's going to take 10 minutes. I mean, you are like in a massive parking lot outside of the warehouse. So they got to move around and drop things off. I get it. Yeah. But like I had a rumble in the jungle, if you know what I'm saying. And I was thinking to myself, surely they don't have public washrooms washrooms for the folks here, right? Because you got to be socially distanced. And so it got me thinking, and maybe we can just talk about it now as a topic, but like public washrooms, man, what is your take? Like growing up and maybe even to this day, like what is your take on using public washrooms, and specifically if you have to take a number 2? Because the number 1 is a joke, right? Like you can go to a bush Yeah. But you see women just going for a nice little squat ski, behind the bush too. So it's not a big deal. But number two, you need it's a game changer.
Yeah. It's a bit of a process there. I mean, for me, I'm one of those people that's pretty lucky in like I'm not too afraid of basically anywhere. You got to do your due diligence first. You gotta. You're sometimes. Listen. So one of the things with public washrooms that I don't get, what do people do in there? You know what I mean? Like sometimes you get in there and it looks like a Jackson Pollock painting and the lid is flipped up and on the top of the stall thing and there's, blood all over the place and something. So if you really got to go, and when you got to go, you got to go. Sometimes you have to do the nest. So really the eagle's nest. So really load up
sometimes
on that.
Sometimes a double eagle.
Sometimes, because sometimes you have to double eagle and hover. Because you don't even want any poo particles just kind of creeping up in their vicinity, and then you get uromycetitis, right?
Sometimes you do a wipe down, a double eagle, and then a hover.
Yeah. Sometimes it's probably best to bring a bug sprayer and just give yourself your own bidet and just spray it right up there. Let's forget about just bothering with. I mean, who even know when you try to go for a rip of the roll, like grab a square?
Fly?
Who knows who touched that before you and hit just foul? It's just like what did they do in there? I legitimately want to know. Like it's like I'm one of those people that does firmly believe that it's like as a society we have to coexist. So it's like treat everywhere like it's your home. Are you going into your own washroom after you take a shower and you're going to take a dump on the tile floor and then you're going to smear it all around? Smear it all around and then write Metallica rules? It's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
Oh, my Lord, man. This reminds me of a story of when, I don't know if you knew this guy, but I used to have a great uncle. He's a war veteran. And so he moved from Poland to Buffalo, good old Buffalo, New York. And we'd go visit him, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a year. And I was stoked to go, man, because I was like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those years.
Yeah.
And it was his favorite place. We'd go to Ponderosa. Have you ever heard of Ponderosa?
Yeah.
I don't know if they have them in Canada. I'm sure there's one lingering somewhere in like probably Niagara Falls. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a buffet, man. It's a North American buffet. And I remember I'd get the fried chicken and the the chowders and all that stuff. And I get pretty pumped. There's a full ice cream bar at the end. Like for a kid, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And let me just tell you, like when you do a quick 360 of the environment in a Ponderosa, at least in Buffalo, it's clear to see that the people there are very passionate about eating North American buffets, let's just say. Okay. And so I remember this one time, I'm like, all right, man, I really got to take a number 2. Not a big deal. And I have to say at the Ponderosa.
Yeah.
And for a big place like that is a buffet, shocked there was only 2 stalls. It was a 2-stall washroom, maybe 4 urinals, right? I mean, if it's rush hour, there's a lineup.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this, man. I walked into that stall, I opened the door, and I think at that time must have been 6, 7 years old. It was the first time that I've ever witnessed feces on the outside of the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember looking at him like, how did that happen? Right.
Yeah.
And then I checked the next one and it was okay. And I was like, all right, like someone, like we need to call somebody.
Better.
It was mildly better. Yeah. And at that point, you're not doing Eagle's Nest because you're sticks. You know what I mean? You're kind of like, whatever.
You're hoping your feet hit the fucking floor. But like, you know what the worst part about that sort of shit is that like when you go in, say you go in and you just have the courage to say, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm going to Eagles Nest it. I'm going to hover it. I'm going to do whatever I need to do because, I'm really, backed up here. Then you bounce. These people treat this thing like God knows what. Then you bounce and there's always like a dude waiting for you out front, and you're just like pointing back, like, I swear, like that
was not me.
That wasn't me. I mean, good luck. And so I remember I was at Gabby's, who's in the Junction, and I went down, and I actually did have to go number 2, but someone had fucking clogged it, right? And so I was like, shit out of luck, no pun intended. And then I was like, all right, I'll just have to fucking hold it in. And then this dude came back, and because I was the only one, again, it's a small one too. And so this dude came down, and I kind of like looked at him, and I was like, it's not working. And he just flipped. And now it was sort of directed at me, I guess, thinking that, I probably did it or whatever, which, trust me, I would admit if I did do it.
Sure.
But he was so I'm assuming this guy just had to dump so fucking badly that like he probably said fuck it
when at women's bathroom,
or even at the top of the bowl. Like he just said, you know what? I'm gonna do an upper decker here because I gotta get loose. Because like this is just not working out for me, and I'm really,
it's go time.
It's go time. I got knots in my stomach.
Did you, growing up, ever have imaginary friends?
I have imaginary friends now.
Okay, but did you have them when you were growing up too?
No, you know what? I had these kind of like dreams and stuff. Like daydreams of things like being a celebrity or something, or like being on like Conan O'Brien or some shit, but not really necessarily like a dude. Like I was like, yo, what's up? Donald.
Well, that's just like imagining things in your mind. And like, I do that all the time. Sometimes dude, sometimes, cause me and I grew up playing competitive soccer. Sometimes I would get lost and I'm almost like day walking.
Yeah.
I mean? Not like sleepwalking, but like day walking. Yeah. And I'm pretending I'm playing soccer in my head and I'm in another room. You know what I mean? Like just like daydreaming. It's crazy. So, but like imaginary friends. So apparently my sister did have imaginary friends, and shit got kind of real. Like my mom told me a story. She was just like, I don't know what to do here. Like she's visibly speaking to somebody that is not in the room and is asking us to like make an action in regards to them. Just like, oh, hey, Donald dropped his cup. Mom, can you get him a new one? And blah, blah, blah. And she's like, sure, honey. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And so that she was really young and apparently had something to do with like Smurfs and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's crazy to think that like kids are straight up hallucinating at a young age, basically, and either making these people up because I think you've seen them.
Because I think it is pretty common. Right. Yeah. Like it's like tons of, that's how they do their tea parties and play with their dolls and toys and things like that. Like legit. Like, I think that's a pretty common thing. And maybe in particular, if there was no one else around, right? I'm the youngest of 3. So there's always someone around to play with. Yeah. Especially when you have a brother as well, who's a few older. So it is like, and then you're the younger one who's going, oh, he's doing something cool. I want to do something cool. I'll make you want to, you have to tag along and all that sort of shit. So there's no real room or necessity for an imaginary friend, but I'm assuming probably a lot of only children or first children do, because they're like sitting around there. The brain is just wandering. Cause like imagine being in a kid's brain, and like learning things for the first time. Like, cause my sister just had her first about a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And she's done so much research and she's already brilliant as it is. So she looks into a lot of this stuff and very scientifically. And apparently it's one of those things why they have a lot of these phases, especially in the first 1, 2, 3 years. And they have these weird spurts and then they call them phases, obviously, that are like the cognizant adult brain couldn't even grasp what they're going through. Because it's like so fucking insane. You're like, oh, the color red.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah. What are you talking about? Wait. Red mixed with blue makes purple?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
and your fucking mind.
Yeah. You're seeing this in like real time. And you're just like,
Those are
shit.
mind-blown moments as a kid. If you think about it, if you could, because you don't remember now, but imagine going back and just everything is mind-blown. Like the first magic trick as a kid, you know, those easies. Oh, something behind your ear, the coin behind the ear, mind-blown. You're like, where the fuck did you get that quarter from?
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
Are you David Blaines?
Mate, are you taking the fucking piss, mate?
No, it's true, right? Because it would just be so like insane because like, and especially when you're super duper young, as my niece is, you can't communicate it. You can't be like, yo, mom, this is fucked up. You're going,
I don't like that, mom.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you.
But I can't tell you. I have no other outside of taking a wamp in my fucking panties and howling at the moon and with tears. I can't communicate anything to you.
Yeah. Imagine years later, she'd be like, Mom, that thing you did back in the day.
Yeah.
Really annoying. I was trying to tell you to cut it out, but I was too young.
Well, that would be like some start of like a horror film or whatever, where like the door opens up and then the kid's just like a silhouette in there. And then, you know, they always do that sing or whatever. Come out to play. Mom, I didn't like what you did when I was 2 years old.
Mommy was bad.
Exactly. And then they go and it's always some sort of weird fucking being. There's always like an entity in those things, eh?
I don't fucks with entities. I don't fucks with ghosts. I don't fucks with spirits.
And I mean in real life, not even in movies. Like I am fucking terrified of that shit.
Yeah, me too. That we could talk about that another time. In fact, we should, because like I don't mess around with that stuff. We have a great story about that at your place too. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm putting that in the old.
Yeah, put that in the noodle. But anyways, I guess the thing rerouting back to the point, which is obviously the topic of conversation, is I'd say that's a pretty common thing for people to sort of get solace in their, you know, time alone and development as a child, because they're like thinking about things and they're filling up this time and it's sort of natural to be like, oh, I'm gonna like make this thing up right now in order to make me feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, 100%. And now that you said that, there's people out there that still do that, and they're grown people. Like they have like, I'm sure I think I've met 2 or 3 people that for sure have imaginary girlfriends.
Guarantee.
You know, they're always talking about this girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, she's in Sweden, but I mean, like when I do get to see her, it's a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, again? It's just like, oh yeah, you know, she's half Scandinavian, half German. We have a lot in common.
Yeah. So it's like, it's the camp situation. Oh yeah. My girlfriend, I met her at camp in the summer.
Oh yeah. Remember camp? Yeah. So I see her once a summer.
Yeah.
But she's still my girlfriend.
Yeah. And she gave me I got to first base with her. And there's always, you just know the guys are just full of shit.
Yeah. You know, it's funny when someone comes back from camp and they comes back to school, like landed second base, man, at fucking summer camp. It was tight. You know that what they're saying, just like struggled to have the confidence to speak to a girl, made eye contact. Fucking right.
And it's super easy, right? Because you always go to camp outside of the city or even further away at that. So you're just like, I can come back with just these epic tales of my like 11-year-old sexcapades, apparently. And no one, and really no one.
We did it in a kayak, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. And no one's going to like say anything about it because they're going to be like, they're like, oh, no, you didn't prove it. And you're like, oh, like fucking I'm 11. I just poo-pooed in my pants.
Yeah, I still wet the bed, so why don't you believe me?
But then the irony of it, and we kind of we know firsthand from people's stories, when they do get older, so when they become the camp counselors, they're fucking depraved degenerates, eh? It's just a fuck fest.
It's an absolute fuck fest. It's like that show on Netflix, which I forget what it's called, but it's just
fuck
like
fest?
It's called Fuck Fest 3.
It's just like warm apple pie, eh?
Oh my Lord, man. Yeah, it's true. All the people that are counselors don't trust camp counselors. You know, when a camp counselor's like, don't worry, I'll babysit this weekend. Don't let them babysit your kid.
Yeah.
Right. They're not babysitting.
Well, because you know what? They're probably actually pretty good babysitters when they're actually doing their job. But really what they're doing is giving little Timmy some warm milk to put his ass to sleep and then bring over some of these hosts for some BJs that they met at camp.
Yeah. And they're puffing. They're puffing on that coral reef too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the strangest things, because these guys are full of shit, and then they keep going back to camp until they eventually become a camp counselor, and they're like, I never lied. It just developed later.
Yeah, yeah. That story I told you 15 years ago did happen.
Just happened last week.
Just last week. All right, man. Let's get into the Would You Rather. I think you're going to like this one. It's actually pretty thematic based on some of the things we talked about in the previous episode. So check it out. Spin that shit.
Would you rather? Would you rather?
All right, buddy, check it out. So I was thinking about this because Gladiator was on the other day. And if you know me, man, top 3 movie, Gladiator. Yeah, I love that movie. There's fewer movies, and this might be very like primitive and just kind of like bro-ish or whatever it is. But like fewer movies get me really like
riled up,
amped up, and really like it's a revenge story, you know, and you're just like, oh my God, I need to avenge my family. It's like it really gets you going,
because you know what you're doing. You're kind of saying, "Oh, I would do the same thing if I was in that position." Even though you're full of shit and you would have died on the way over when they were when they put the maggots in his shoulder or whatever, you would have been done.
You wouldn't make it.
You wouldn't make it because this guy was tough as fucking nails. But you're thinking, you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go get that little bitch who killed his dad and who's gonna make me
bitch Caesar.
Yeah, or whatever.
Emperor. Fuck that.
What was his name again? The Joaquin Phoenix or whatever. But you're like, you know what, that guy, I'm gonna fuck his ass up when I see him. But you're like, you wouldn't even make it to your front porch.
No. I would definitely be the general of the Roman army.
But yeah. So you're watching it.
So I'm watching it and just got me to think, fuck, man, if we could be reborn, right? So you died tomorrow, knock on wood. You know what I mean? You died tomorrow. And instead of going to the afterlife or whatever it is, someone just came up to me and said, listen, left hand, right hand. Left hand, you get to be reborn in the past of your choice. The other hand, reborn in the future of your choice. So future could be 10,000 years from now. It could be 1 year from now. It could be whatever it is. But you have to pick one.
You're getting Morpheus.
Oh yeah, it's red pill, blue pill, except they're time zones,
right,
as opposed to
like this wokeness,
truth.
Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a tough one. Now, okay, so here, let's kind of get into the nitty gritty, because there are always variables in these things, right?
Yes, sir.
Would we know of anything further than Earth? So is it being like, kind of going back to what we discussed several episodes ago?
Yeah.
Would be like, yo, you could now live on some next if you go 5,000 years in the future, you might be living on some next colony in Alpha Gamma NXZ, or you could go back to the 40s and assassinate Hitler or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's like what are we kind of dealing with, like, sort of existentially, right?
So the way I see it is, pick how many years back or forward, and whatever that reality is or will be is what you got. So you can say, hey, in 5,000 years, there might be no Earth in 5,000 years. There might be another colony. I don't know. But I think the question is more so, and I speak to a lot of my friends, and like they say things like, man, I'm an old soul.
Yeah.
I totally should have been, I could, like, this is my timeline, you know what I mean? The 20s and 30s, you know what I mean? Where men had class and blah, 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 stuff like that. And they're like, that's my time zone. So more like that. And I guess the future would be like, where, there's hovercrafts and friggin' whatever, and which could happen in 20 years. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, they've been telling us that shit for a while now. And it's like, I don't see jack shit, because you're kind of like,
show me the hovercraft.
Yeah. I want
the hovercraft.
I want proof. No, it's a tricky situation, because you kind of want to know. Like, here's the thing, is that I think if you go back in time, even though, like, we know what we know now, we have these crazy technologies that are developing every day. The world and maybe due to history and stuff, but like the world you could still sort of maybe understand or connect with, and you could kind of be like, oh, like during the fucking Middle Ages or something, you'd be like, oh man, this is fucking brutal and people don't have food and blah, blah, blah. But you could kind of understand like how people are doing this, that, and the other, and how their sort of society operates, because we know this sort of stuff through history and just sort of general human nature. But I think if you went, and not even far, like I think if you went 200 years in the future,
oh wow,
I mean, on the grand scheme of the timeline of the earth, that's nothing.
That's a lot.
That's nothing, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, if you want to Joe Rogan it, that's nothing,
Yeah.
But like, I don't even think the world would be recognizable to you. Like, you would pop out of the cryogenic freezing chamber, and you take your long whiz, and you would
evacuation come,
and you would look outside, and you straight up be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, maybe. Or like maybe there was like a nuclear war or something that happened, and it's just like everything's just so fucked up. I think for me, and I thought about this 3 minutes ago, was the worst situation I think for me would be is if you went back in time, let's say, I don't know, 50s, 40s, 30s, whatever it is, knowing what you know now.
Yeah.
That would be the worst, because imagine being like, oh, this is great. Things are, a little bit simpler. They're slowed down, right?
Mhm.
Because of the chaos that we're used to now. But imagine just like communication.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we need to tell that guy that, we need to do this, and that. Sure. All right, sir. Well, take this feather.
Yeah. And he's like, here's a carrier.
And then dip it in the ink and then write it on this piece of parchment. And then I'll have someone deliver it in 3 weeks.
No, he's like, here's a carrier pigeon, and send it off.
Or like,
and it gets sniped down, and you don't even know if your fucking message made it.
Yeah. And like, that would frustrate me, of being like, what the fuck? Should I just run over there and just tell him personally? Like,
yeah.
Knowing what we know now and having access to all of the like tools and information, like it would frustrate me like crazy, going backwards in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. Because you'd just be like, yo, I just want to text my buddy, and they're like,
yo, sup?
Yeah, and they're like, what the hell is a text? And you're like, oh yeah. And then, because every single fucking time and you see this in movies and TV shows all the time, anytime the guy's like, yo, I'm from the future, they're like, I don't think so. And then he's a leper. Like, they're like, we got to get this guy somehow. He's crazy.
Yeah. It's a witch.
Yeah. And it's just like, yo,
the sorcerer. Yeah.
They're just like, yo, this guy's fucking lunatic. So if you came back and you're talking about all this shit and being like, oh, I just want to WhatsApp my friend, they would just, they burn you at the stake.
Yeah.
Fry him.
Yeah. Just fry him. Be jokes. You know how, like, let's say you're seeing someone new, and you have the texts back and forth, pretty frequently. Hey, what's up? What are you doing? Are you sleeping now? What are you watching? Blah blah. All that stuff. If it was between two homing pigeons, imagine how exhausted the two pigeons would be. Like, you're just sending little notes. Haha, that's cute. Sent, and then come back.
Or like you get sent back in time through like some machine or whatever it is, the lithium crystals or some fucking shit. And then like, you're texting your homie, you're like, yo, you want to watch a game tonight? Yeah, I'll be over there at 6:30, blah, blah, blah. Then you go MIA because you go back in time. Then all of a sudden, homie's like, what the, opens it up. It's not you. It's some courier from like DHL or something. He hands him this box, opens it up. It's like this vintage old thing. And it's like, yo, dude, if you're reading this, I'm dead. And I just wanted to let you know I got lost back in time in the 1600s, and I had to write this fucking parchment to let you know I won't make the game tonight.
I'm going to be late.
So because you'd just be all fucked up. Because I mean, I guess the question as well would be, can you come back? Like, is this a two-way street? Or you're saying, or you punched your ticket and you're going to this, and this is your life now?
You know what would be sick? Now this got me thinking again. Forget vacations. You know how people travel and all this stuff? Imagine you could just vacation to other time zones. You pay $7,000. You plug in and you're like, I'm going to go and try to kill Hitler.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm, like I'm going to be the superhero in different time zones and in the future. That is a vacation, I think, that people would be willing to pay for because it's more than just relaxing. You're like, it's rewarding and you get to see the times and stuff like that. That'd be swaggy.
That would be swaggy as fuck. But
what'd you say this weekend? It's just like, you don't even want to know, man. These bootleggers tried to fucking take my liquor. Yeah. There was no way.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, fuck. I'll just imagine like the cost of that too. You know what I mean? I bet Elon Musk is on it. I bet he's like, we got to figure out a way that people can have vacations to whatever time in history they want.
He spoke to Tesla.
He was speaking to this Knight Rider. His car was talking back to him.
Yeah, he was talking right to him.
Yeah,
right to his face. So I don't know. I think, the future is interesting. I think people want to go back to the past and experience what that's, experience that life.
I think it's because more often than not like your point is absolutely 1000% correct. Being like, oh, I'm an old soul and this and that and the other. But the past is what people know. The fear of the future is what makes people be like, I don't know about that, right? Like I'm uncertain if I would want to get my feet wet in that because like I don't know what I'm jumping into. We have a sort of understanding that we're going to have certain things, this and that, like renewable energy or various, design changes and technologies and cars and a certain thing, especially more the immediate future. But like that's why people are nostalgic, right? Like that's why people our age love 80s and 90s movies, because they're like, that's what I grew up on. I know that and blah, blah, blah. And if you're a history buff, you're going to say, oh, I like this and that from other time zones. But it's like to say you're now going to take this pill and then you're going to go in 200 years into the future. Good luck. I think that just fucking terrifies people,
The future is definitely scary.
Yeah. And ironically enough, scarier than the past, even though we know what the fuck has happened over the civilizations, right?
Dude, everyone's afraid of the unknown, man.
That's it.
And the unknown is 6 months from now. Honestly.
Yeah. Even tonight. I don't know what I'm doing tonight.
I don't know what's going to happen later. Well, listen, man, it's time to rot. All right, let's get into the You Rotted segment. Let's go. All right, Stu, listen, I thought we would change it up a little bit. And for all of our listeners right now, we typically have someone that writes to us using fiercekingz@gmail.com. And you can write to us as well. All your stories. So it doesn't just have to be You Rotted. If you want to talk about a certain subject, just let us know. We'll put it on the podcast. But instead of reading something out, I actually thought about a story from, I think when we were like 20 years old with our friend Jimbo. Okay. And this is a story about, it was the summertime and there's an infamous hill in our neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, I know this one.
Yeah. So if it's all right, I'm going to just kind of kick off that story. And then I'd like us to talk about it because it's quite the rot. In fact, like playing it back because we were both there.
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
It's giving me a couple of goosebumps here. So our buddy Jimbo here is like the summertime and I guess 20 years old, 21 years old, maybe 19.
Yeah. Like, were we back from university yet, or were we still in high school?
It was after high school. It wasn't after university. Yeah. And so I remember we were at a friend's house. We were just finishing a night of, let's just call it heavy drinking, probably. Okay. I don't want to hide away from that. So definitely on the heavier side. Okay. Yeah. And I remember we all left the house. And when it's like 1 a.m. and you're 19 and you're all kind of drunk and you're just like shouting in the streets and everyone's kind of like going their separate ways now. Yeah. So that was taking place and we're all walking down the street and we're at the top of that hill. And I don't know what hill that is. If you know what it's called, the street, I forget what it's called.
Isn't it? That's Glen Lake, isn't it? That's it turns into Glen Lake. Something like that.
Glen Lake. Anyways, so for the folks listening, this is how it looks. It's a pretty steep hill that's about 150 to 200 meters going down, and then there's a sharp blind turn. Okay, and then after that turn, there's an intersection that doesn't have any lights. Okay. And so our friend Jimbo here was on a skateboard that night, right? And I think he wanted to go get some pizza or something, which it was on Bloor Street there. So like not too far away, but he's just like, you know what? I'm hungry, man. I need a slice ASAP. And so he got on the skateboard and he's just like, I'm going for it. I'm going for a rip. And it's funny because you see the progression, right? Like he's like making the large turns, he's going down, he's slowly picking up speed. And you and I remember we're like running behind him, all that stuff. And he's going for it. He's really, really going for it. And like he's got the surfer pose and he's like staying stable and everything.
Shredding.
He was shredding.
Yeah.
He was straight up shredding. And then at the bottom of the hill, he made the turn. We saw him go around the bend. And I'll never forget this, man, right? Because a skateboard, like you can hear it, especially in the night when everything's echoing. And all you hear was,
yeah. He had the speed wobble going, and it just was Eric.
I think he hit a pebble, and you know, the size of a Jelly Belly or something.
Yeah.
Got fucking Super Dave Osborne. You know what I mean? Just fucking Supermaned it into the curb on his chin.
Yeah.
And it was lights out Guerrilla Radio. Turn that shit up.
Oof.
Yeah. And so I'll never forget this because we worked at the same restaurant. And so he had to go to the hospital and get 8 or 9 stitches right on his chin. Like you could not avoid this thing.
Yeah. No, it was pretty gnarly.
It was a scene for sure. And so what happened was we worked at the same restaurant and we were on the brunch shift. And if you're like us, which are bus boys, like the brunch shift, you know, the restaurant opens at 9 a.m., but you got to be there at like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
This guy ends up showing up and like clean shaven outside of this like patch of hair on his chin and this massive protruding wound that obviously had like gauze on it. But because he didn't want to work at a restaurant with gauze on it, he thought it was better to take it off and absolutely fucking frighten the patrons out of their mind. They're like, hey, would you like some more water? And they're like, get the fuck out of here, freak. You know? and the poor guy actually got let go shortly afterwards.
I think he got shit canned that day. I think they were like, this is a terrible, terrible idea. Like, what are you thinking? Why? I can't even believe you didn't call in sick.
Why didn't you call in sick?
Yeah. At least get yourself
like whiskey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, call in sick and get a bit of ointment on your face for the next few days. You know what I mean? Like, what? I don't know. Like, I mean, I commend him wholeheartedly because, like, that's a ballsy move. Being like, listen, I got 30 minutes of sleep. I am bleeding. If I recall correctly, I think his whole like his
probably
concussed. Concussed, and I think he was even like bleeding on his like uniform or something. Like the wound like opened up, or he had another scrape or something underneath, and it was like kind of opening up. And they were just like, "You're a fucking disaster, man. You got to get the fuck off our property."
Yeah, you can't work here ever again. The best part about this was when he was all fucked up and bleeding, and we had to carry him. He just kept muttering, I almost made it.
yeah, that's right.
I almost made it. And he did almost make it. It was very impressive.
It was super impressive. It was one of the most like gnarliest shreds. I mean, obviously, you know, the professional skaters go do that stuff in like San Francisco and stuff. But from our perspective, I was like, holy shit, like that was fucking sick. And I know firsthand because I don't know if you were there, but when we were living at the top of the hill in Montreal, down Côte des Neiges, I tried to bomb that with our buddy. And because he snowboards and shit.
I saw that. I was there.
And so like, I remember we were going down and we were trying to like, I think it was get to that like school or something like that and maybe do some play skate. And I think I was filming. I remember because I had the camcorder, if you remember that black camcorder. And we were bombing down the hill. And I remember you were the smart one. You just kind of had the foot skid kind of thing going on or whatever. And I tried to go for it to be a tough guy. And I hit the speed wobble and I did the fucking farthest somersault I've ever seen. And I just rolled and rolled and rolled. And I remember it was so, awful, not because I was like almost close to being killed, but it was because I was like, oh shit, how good of this footage would have been on the camcorder, but the camcorder was trashed.
Yeah.
It was just like fucking destroyed because like I had just gone down there at whatever 40 clicks on the fucking planche à roulette
Yeah.
and it hit a crack or something, and it was just hashtag latergram. I just went, wee.
Not to mention, like, that's a really busy street. So you're getting honked at. There's like
Oh,
public
yeah.
transportation buses probably being like, this guy wants to die today.
Yeah, like that was the equivalent of
That's
feeling
Côte
like
de Neige for all those who lived in Montreal. That's a hectic street.
that's a super active street. And it's like that's like that's like the closest thing that we did, or definitely like people in that city who skated would like get to feel like they're ripping in California. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where you can get like a rip. Because I mean, even in TO, like TO, like that was like one of like some of the few kind of cool hills we have in the city.
It's probably not even that big, right?
No,
like
no, not in
to some of the-
comparison.
But what's funny, just to touch on that hill that you talked about in Montreal, because you just made me remember. I'll never forget. I remember I worked at a restaurant in Montreal, and there was this guy, Matt. Shout out to Matt. He was the sous chef, and he had to crash at our place. I don't think you were living there anymore. He had to crash at our place because he had a little bit too much to drink, and so because the guys in the kitchen have to start work earlier to prep for service, he just left like the crib, and I was still sleeping, and like with our roommates and everything. Like he left. He's like, "Oh shit, I gotta go to work," right? So he took my skateboard and did exactly what you did, thinking, you know what? I used to skateboard when I was 12.
Yeah.
What's the big deal here? And he went. Check this out. He went. I show up to work later, and the guy already had a shaved head. Like that was just the way he.
Oh my god!
And he had. I'm not even joking to you right now. A 6-inch.
Awful.
Like a 6-inch like wound on the middle of his head because he bailed so hard into a fountain.
That was fucking.
And he used the med kit from the restaurant to put it in. So like it's not like one bandage. It was like many bandages covering it. And then later he had to go to the hospispittal. But he still worked the whole service through the hot summer, like in the kitchen, and like he trooped it.
He's like his fucking wound is getting infected and everything because he's like sweating in the back of this like hot grill in those ovens and shit. And he's just but he was lucky because he didn't work front of the house. Because in the back of the house, you're expected to be a piece of shit.
No,
like
that's a back of the house movement that he pulled. In fact, they were probably just like, "Ha, fucking idiot! Now get prepping, boy. Like service is starting in an hour. Let's go. Put a bandage on that."
Because like they didn't really care. Because like that's sort of to be expected when you're back house. They're like, we know you guys are rowdy. Y'all have your fun. It's super sick. As long as you got those dishes out front, so somebody without a big fucking scar on their head can serve it. We don't give a shit what you have to do.
Yeah, the guys in the front have it pretty easy. You know what I mean? You just gotta like kind of look okay, smell decent. You know what I mean?
And be pleasant.
And just be pleasant. You know what I mean? And then you got to kind of sort it out. But yeah, man, skateboarding in hills, especially with under the influence, like you're gonna rot. And so Jimbo, shout out to you, but my man, because you rotted. All right, you know what time it is. It's time to get into the top 5. The top 5. All right, check it out. So today's top 5, it's a good one. And it's a top 5 pet peeves. Now listen, I thought about this. Pet peeves, they're pretty simple, right? Everyone's got the same pet peeves. Complaining, slow walkers. I mean, there's a million. I hate a good lineup. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was thinking, Stu, maybe instead of just going through that boring shit, we just unleash the fury.
Sure.
So forget about pet peeves. Just what are 5 things you just fucking hate?
Yeah.
Just shit you hate. We're going to go off. We might sound like assholes on this one, but you know what? This is the stuff that really pisses me off. So let's just let's do a speed run and let's just get right the fuck into it because I'm just a fuck off.
I mean, yeah, because at the end of the day, I think for me, it's like, I don't know if there is any such thing as a pet peeve for me. It's just like just genuine, pure hatred. Like, I just like, it's one of those things that I feel it with every like fiber of my being. There's probably only like 10 things in the world that I pretty much like anyway. So it's like one of those things you're just even thinking about this conversation right now. I can think of like my mind is racing thinking of all that stuff that just pisses you off.
All right, fine. So let's kick it off right now, and I'm gonna find a sound for like a boxing ring. All right, insert it now. Go. What's the first thing you hate?
The first thing for me is our fucking snowblowers, man. Snowblowers, those people are scum. They're just scum of the earth.
Wait a minute. So somebody who is using a snow blower to clean their front yard?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I get it if you live on a fucking farm or you're working at like a factory or something. But if you live in the city and even like the burbs are a bit of a stretch, but if you live in the city, all you're doing is making inconvenience for other people. You're blowing, because there's no way they're fucking shoveling that shit up afterwards when it's spraying everywhere. Right. It's gonna spray out the I don't know, vent or whatever.
Right.
It either goes onto somebody else's property or it goes into the street where it's taking up valuable parking space.
I know. When there's a lot of when there's a lot of snow.
Yeah, when there's a ton of snow, and we just got dumped on actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yesterday, and like I live on a small street, and I saw the guy. So because I was out there fucking shoveling, breaking my back, and I see this little piece of shit across the street is just smiling his face off, right? Yeah. And I'm just like, and he's just going everywhere, and it's like when you're like on a small street like mine, where it's just like a one way, so you can only park on like one side of like a one way.
Yeah,
valuable real estate. You take up a parking spot or two every like few sort of curb indentations or whatever.
Yep.
That means half the street is losing their parking if they don't have a parking pad.
Yeah.
And similar, like, it's like, there'd be one thing if you're like, okay, I'm dusting this real quick. And then I'm like, kind of like a leaf blower, even though those are still annoying because those people don't clean up their shit either. But it's like, you do a quick dust to get that out of your way. And then you hit it with the shovel to kind of scoop it onto your front like property, but they never do that. They're just like, oh, not my problem anymore. And then they fuck off.
There's no reason for using a snowblower if you live in the city.
No reason at all.
You just need a shovel. And it takes all of 20 minutes. If it's a heavy dump, I understand it could suck, but you're launching that snow, like you said, onto the street, which is already a problem because that plus the snow plow that's coming in, you're basically boxing in your whip.
Exactly. And it's like, whatever happened to like the old days? You just pay some fucking kid down the street $5 and he's going to dust your whole property.
Exactly.
Like, that's number one for me, bud.
All right. Check this one out.
Oh.
I still to this day just can't stand canvassers.
Oh, big time.
In 2021, I'm just not feeling comfortable with somebody coming onto my porch and trying to sell me something or pitch me something. There's a line, a very fine line. You know the expression like you're crossing the line, pal.
Yeah. That's like, probably where it was the origin of it.
They're so close to the line.
Yeah.
Like literally, like they're almost breaking and entering into my house and trying to sell me something. And worse than that, they're guilting me. Like this one time, this dude came up, I opened the door, shit, not even shitting you, 1 foot away. And then he gave me this entire spiel on saving the owls. Yeah, I guess there was like owls being killed in like British Columbia because they were cutting down trees or something.
Right.
And I was just like, listen, man, I just don't really have money for stuff like this. He's just like, I can't believe that somebody in your position would not want to save the owls. And I'm like, I love owls, but like, I'm not ready to, I don't know who you are. What are you doing on my property?
Well, because okay,
it's not working for me, pal.
Well, because this has got to be broken down a little bit more, and we can start off by saying this isn't 1965 anymore. Like, what do you think this is? I do have the internet, like that. Like as we were talking about
Facebook ad. Maybe I'll swipe and say, you know what? Here you go.
I'll do so. I'll do a little look into it. Secondly, they always come at inopportune times, right? Because whoever's leading this like organization is like, yo, people are always usually home from work around 5:36. And so that's the time that they're going to be home. So you go knock on the doors then. Hey, guess what, asshole? I'm firing up dinner. Then we're going to sit down.
Bad time.
bad time. If you catch me when I'm firing up dinner and getting ready to put on a flick afterwards, you're gonna get a pretty uptight fucking dude at the door, and you're not gonna like the interaction.
Yeah, I also don't like the fact that now everyone's evolved. So it used to be like, all right, I got like a coin can. Anything helps to save the owls. But now they're like, we take MasterCard, Visa, debit, cryptocurrencies, whatever you want. And I'm just like, yo, I have no idea what I'm paying for right here.
But you know what the best thing? This was like Canvasser's revenge. When I was like living out in the East End near Hochelaga in Montreal. Mm-hmm. On Des Bordeaux or whatever. This dude came up, and I think it was green peas. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was green peas. And so I came to the door, and he was just giving the whole spiel. But again, like that's a very French neighborhood. And I was like, even though I can speak French, and I'm like, oh, en anglais, s'il vous plaît. And then so I make him do the whole thing in English. So he goes into like 20 minutes of discussion in English. And then I was like, yeah, that's not really for me. And then I bounced. And he, like, the look on his face was just disappointment beyond any sort of visual.
He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. And,
he was flabbergasted.
And at the end of the day, just to finish on this one, like, listen, I know these are people working and they might be passionate about this stuff, but it's the wrong approach, and they got to change that. There's other things. Like, I would even do telemarketing before I'd open the door and have to speak to someone. And I don't feel comfortable, man. And imagine your wife opening the door and you're not at home, and someone would be like, all right, so she's going to get her purse and getting some cash in. They could just break into your house. I don't fucks with canvassers. It has to end. Next.
You know what really fucking gets me?
Go.
People who don't put back shopping carts. That one really fucking gets me. So like this fucking business is already doing you a solid by giving you a wheeled vehicle for all of your.
Let us help you.
All of your purchases. All we ask in return is for you to put this back to the other wheeled vehicle stations so someone else can enjoy this luxury. But what you got to do is either fill up a parking spot with it, put it at the side of the road, or fucking roll it into somebody else's car and just leave it for somebody else to clean up, or some other pimply faced 17-year-old kid who's working there to fucking clean up your mess. It's like, you got to be at the lowest end of the totem pole to do shit like that.
Get this.
Go.
I'm with the lady at Metro. There's a long lineup for social distancing to get into the big store.
Yeah.
I've never seen this in my entire life. Lady leaves with a full cart, puts away in the things into the car. She walks right to the front of the store. The whole line's watching her because she's right there, and just leaves the cart just at the sidewalk in front of the doors. Leaves the cart because it's on an angle, starts rolling backwards, and just runs pretty fast through the parking lot and hits a car.
Classic. I
was in such shock at what I just saw, that like, and so were other people, that no one even said anything. And like someone shouted, "Miss, miss, miss," and she was gone. She's like, "Fuck this, couldn't be bothered." Terrible.
Because the whole shopping cart etiquette is gone now. Like, my mom was telling me this story the other day, that she was going for a shop, and we all do it. And I'm not going to go for too long on this, but we all do it. You have your stuff going, and then, oh shoot, I got that stuff over there. So you give a leave, you go grab your cucumber or whatever, and you come back. She comes back. This woman's taking shit out of her cart to use it. She's like, "Excuse me, miss, what exactly are you doing?" She's like, "This was just left here." I'm like, "But it's full. It's half full. It's clearly being used." "Oh, you're not allowed to leave shopping carts around." What rule did you just make up there, lady? This has always been a rule.
It's not on a sign.
It's not on a sign. If it's empty, you maybe do a bit of a browse and say, "Hey, do you know whose cart this is?" If it's filled up, that's not yours. You go. Number 2.
All right, check this one. Check this one out. I can't stand people who smell like patchouli.
Okay.
You know that smell? You know that patchouli
I know.
smell? Yeah. And I'll tell you why. it's okay. People who wear patchouli might be great people, but the second I smell that on someone,
Mm.
it's like I understand exactly who they are
Yeah. It's
and
telling. It's
and
very
judge them.
telling.
So, for example, even if it was like a car salesman, if I get a whiff of patchouli, I'm like, all right, after work, this guy is, you know, taking off his wig and then revealing the dreadlocks. He's going to put his shoes in the locker and just leave barefoot. He's going to get on his longboard. He's going to grab a quick kombucha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe fucking smoke a bowl, you know? And that's awesome. And live your life. But what I'm saying is when I get that whiff, you're getting bucketed. You're getting bucketed with that culture. He definitely has a Bob Marley poster in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know, and a guitar, but actually it's not even a guitar. It might be, what's it called? Ukulele. Who knows?
Yeah. Because it's one of those things that it's like, I think patchouli is similar to what is the nose sense similarity to the taste sense of like cilantro. You know how people either love or hate cilantro? There's no kind of like in between.
True.
It's the same thing with that because it's so potent. You either have this sort of nose for it. You're like, oh man, patchouli. Oh, that's delightful. Or you just absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's so telling because it's just feels like it's like lathered on. You're like, you need that much to hide whatever is going on your body. You have hyperhidrosis and a bunch of fucking extra stench that we don't know about, pal. Like, lighten up.
But I think that's it. Like they use it as something to mask, which fails, body odor, because those individuals don't laundry. Again, bucketing. I'm bucketing. But that's the situation. When you wear patchouli, chances are you've been wearing the same sweater for a long time. You don't shower regularly, so you might have some BO, which you like because it's natural. You know, some of the ladies maybe haven't shaved their armpits in 3 to 6 weeks. Yeah. And it's just, you get bucketed. And so can't stand it, dude. Can't stand it. What you got?
You know what one really gets me? And this goes for really anybody, anywhere, at any time, is telling people they look like someone.
Oh, fuck.
People out there, do not do that. Because here's the fact of the matter. You might think it's a compliment, and that person doesn't take it that way. Right. Like you could even tell a girl, you're like, you look like Scarlett Johansson. And then they're like, that fucking bitch is so ugly. And you could tell a dude, you know what I mean? And then you could tell a dude, like, as I think I was mentioning to you a little earlier on or the other day, like I get Luke Skywalker all the time. And it's like kind of whatever. Or Michael Shannon, which I'm like, yo, you want to fucking fight? I got nothing against Michael Shannon. He's a good actor and shit.
You don't look like Michael Shannon. But
anyways, the point being is that it's like, you don't know how that other person's going to interpret the way that you're saying it. It could be more often than not, you're going to try and go with a sort of compliment style. Cause you're not going to be like, okay, you look like fucking Steve Buscemi over here. But you're like, it's just, you don't know how that person is going to interpret that. So if anything, you're just to say, you know, you look good today. It reminds me of someone or something like that. As
you look like a famous person.
You look like an actor today. There you go. As opposed to being like, yo, you look like X, Y, and Z. And it's like, wait a minute. Are you trying to fucking say something here, man? It's ill.
Dude, it's mad ugly. What are you saying?
Square up.
Yeah, square up, man. Put those fisticuffs on. Dude, I've gotten my whole life, it was the same shit. It was sometimes Sylvester Stallone, which is like hilarious because he gets his face mashed in half the time. So I'm like, okay, I guess I have droopy eyes. Thank you. James Franco, fucking Ben Affleck sometimes. And like, I don't really take it personally or anything like that. But then I'm just like, you catch yourself in the mirror and you're just like, what are they seeing that I'm not? You know what I mean?
That's always a big question too, is like, is there something like,
what am I missing?
What am I missing? Is the mirror like dishonest? Or when I talk, does it look weird or something like that? You're like, what? You're just like, you know what? Just keep your yap shut and let's move on from that.
Yeah. And then what happens? Like, oh, you look like Ben Affleck. It's just like, and then they're like, you seen that dragon tattoo on his back? And you're like, now you're putting me in that. I don't have any back tattoos of dragons and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, yo. So check this one out. and this is my last one, so I think you have one more here, but inappropriate weather dressing.
Oof.
And we live in Canada, so this happens often. Like last week,
Yeah.
not even joking, saw a grown man,
Yeah.
50s for sure.
Yeah.
Snow on the ground. It's minus 10 Celsius.
Yeah.
Flip-flops and shorts.
Now, was this like a garbage moving thing, or like he was going for a stroll?
Full stroll. Like
Hell.
he had a knapsack and was on a mission. So he's probably
he's going somewhere.
He had an errand to run. And this is just to add to this, like what else I put in there is like people that wear beanies in the summer.
Yeah.
Can't stand that.
You know what? My brother has the same thing. He's been saying it for years too. He's like, I fucking hate inappropriate weather dressing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I get it. Like, I'll don't get me wrong. Like, I'll do the quick, like, you know, if you're just lamping in your shorts or something and you want to like take out the garbage can or whatever, it's freezing cold. I get it. But like, yeah, like if you, when you're like, it's what, are they trying to be fucking tough or something? Like,
no,
they're like
they're making a decision. They're like, all right, got to go to the grocery store. All right, going to get my hat, going to put on my gloves and my favorite shorts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I mean, like, what is it? You're trying to be tough or something? You're trying to prove to other people. It's like, my legs are fucking warmer than yours. I don't need, my human legs are much warmer than your pathetic human legs. You guys need, like, cow skin to heat you up. Like, what the fuck are you trying to imply here?
Maybe
buddy?
they
Like,
just have, the only way it would work if they had epic calves.
I mean,
but like truly extraordinary calves.
Like, there was this guy that worked at the Home Depot with my brother, and my brother would snap a flick from time to time because this guy always wore shorts. I mean, you're inside, you're working at Home Depot. This guy's calves were something else, man.
Yeah.
Like, they were just like, when he was on the top of that ladder and they were just, you know, perched nicely, and he just had this round. Oh, yeah. Looked like implants, man.
Maybe he had implants. And,
yeah,
and in today's culture, like, he might be thinking, well, if everyone's getting enhancements, why can't I get enhancements for my calves?
Right?
Yeah.
You know, and for me, I mean, I'll do one more because I think realistically, that we could just make a show called Pet Peeves and just like kind of keep going on it.
Yeah.
But for me, duvet covers. You already got the duvet. What do you need to cover it up for? It's big. It's soft. Oftentimes they're like designed really nice. Because when you get that duvet cover, and I don't know if you have one or not, but you put it in, and usually they're like kind of the button seam.
That's the worst.
Button seam. And then every time, you know, if you got a little jiggling or moving around, or your partner's doing this, that, and the other, it starts to bunch up and it gets into the corner. Next thing you know, it's like you're swinging a sack of potatoes, right? Some guys got it on their side, and then you only have the little piece of paper that's tapering you, and vice versa. And then you're fighting over just basically the duvet cover as opposed to fighting over the duvet itself.
Yeah, well, so get this. So me and my wife have separate duvets now. So we each have our own duvet. And it's not because it's so funny when I tell people that, some people are like, "Oh no, is there something wrong with your marriage?" You know what I mean? It's like, no. We were, every night was tug of war. Okay.
Yeah.
And nobody was like, every morning we're exhausted and one person was freezing cold. Okay. Yeah. Right. So we got two separate ones, but not only did we have that situation, we had that situation with a duvet cover. So not only were we playing tug of war, but when you did win tug of war, you just had the cover, and then the other person was holding on to the duvet on the inside. It's a nightmare. It's stupid. Why would anyone do that? And then you need two people to actually, you know, once you clean them, you need two people to put them in the corner. Like, it's ridiculous, man. That could ruin your marriage too. Just like laundry day for the bedding.
Oh, it's a disaster. And because, you know, the person, and we've all been there, the person who does it solo. So say the person, you know, went out of town, or the person was at work, and you know, the laundry was sitting there for too long. You just had to get it going because obviously you want to sleep there that night. The person who does it, so you come back in from a long day's work, do you notice that the bed's made, and they're just sitting on the couch like, got anything to say? Did you know what I did today? Yeah, I hope you really enjoy that sleep tonight. Thank you. Thank me.
That's a huge move. Like
Big time.
if you do that by yourself and you do a pretty good job, your partner, the other person, that's a nice 3-course dinner that they'd have to.
It's quid pro
It's something
quo.
big. It's something massive.
It's quid pro quo. I want something in return after doing something like that. And it's got to be big time.
Well, that's it, folks. Listen, we just hated on a bunch of shit. If you guys have some things you want to hate on,
or hate on us.
Yeah, or hate on us, send us an email at fiercekingz@gmail.com. You can also hit us up on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. We're actually trying to grow our YouTube channel, trying to get those subscribers up. So if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, just search Fierce Kingz. We got the clips going up as well. It's a lot of fun. So please subscribe to that. But I think that's it. That was episode 5, going hard for that episode 10 milestone. Stu, you got anything to say?
You know what I'm about to say. Now that it's all over, you are now not listening